Welcome to the San Francisco Public Library Commission meeting for May 15th, 2025. The time is 4:30. I'm Margot Schaub, and I serve as the Commission Affairs Analyst. This meeting is being held in person in the main library Corrette Auditorium, and members of the public can observe the meeting using Zoom by following the link in the library's event calendar, or by calling 1-877-853-5247 and entering Zoom ID 953-0064-3706. Members of the public who are attending the meeting in person may provide public comment for up to 2 minutes for each discussion or action item on the agenda. Library commissioners in attendance are President Connie Wolf, Vice President Pete Wong, Commissioners Jones and Calhoun.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to the May 15th, 2025 meeting of the San Francisco Public Library Commission. And I just want to offer a welcome to our newest commissioner, Commissioner Jones. Delighted to have you here, and delighted Commissioner Calhoun came back for a second round. We want to welcome everyone here in Corrette Auditorium and also our virtual audience participating via Zoom. We will begin with the Ramaytush Ohlone land acknowledgement. The area now known as San Francisco is the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the original peoples of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place. We recognize that we benefit from living, working, and learning on their traditional homeland. As uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community. All of the materials for today's meeting are available on the Library Commission webpage, or if you are here in Corrette, they are available at the back of the auditorium. Today we have a total of 5 agenda items, and we will begin, as we always do. Item number 1 is general public comment. This is a moment for members attending here in Corrette Auditorium. They may address the Commission on any item of interest that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of our Commission. You can address the Commission on today's agenda items when those agenda items are up for discussion. So general public comment is now open here in Corrette Auditorium. Thank you.
How's it going, board? Commission, I'm sorry. Just as a follow-up, I had a administrative hearing recently, and just a few observations. One is that the hearing officer had not had access to a February 23rd appeal that I wrote and sent in. That appeal had the benefit of viewing some video footage that I requested under Sunshine. Effectively, the video footage countered the incident report that was written. When police go out to a call, one of the first things they have to do is to determine the veracity of the report. They don't just simply go after someone. They have to determine, is this correct? If it is, then they can move forward. If it is not, they label it unfounded. Another way to say it is unmerited. So I turned in 14 pages of documentation. Actually, few of them, about maybe 4 pages, I had painstakingly gone through, and nearly every frame described what I thought were the main points. So even without the benefit of the hearing officer seeing the video, I entered into the record what she needed to have made a decision of unfounded. Currently, Ms. Maureen Singleton here, and the librarian has told me that things.
Thank you very much for your comment. Do we have further public comment today? Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome to the new commissioner. I'm Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. We can be reached at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544, with the Postal Service being much more privacy-oriented or privacy-providing than typically email. There continue to be threats of all kinds against pretty much anybody or any institution who can disagree with the top political person in our country, and that includes libraries. Since we last met, I believe that Carla Hayden has been fired. I consider libraries enormously important to our knowledge of what's going on, to everybody's knowledge, to our democracy, to our enjoyment as well in our society. And I think in that respect, I think that the Library Commission ought to be talking about what to do with respect to the threats against libraries and against their programming and commenting and so on. I'm not talking about criticism, I'm talking about threats or requests to stop programs or access to material. I've also talked about the toxicity of social media, which you continue to uncritically tout in a variety of ways through programs and make available more for those who are technically well-established as opposed to those who are not. And that's a lot of the vulnerable populations. Access physically as well is an issue. For example, Zoom meetings and other things. Finally, toxicity of social media, Frances Haugen, and
Thank you very much. Further public comment?
Hello, library leaders. My name is Emily Garvey. I am the Executive Director of Friends of the San Francisco Public Library. Wanted to provide a couple of Friends updates. Friends had its signature gala, Library Laureates, on May 3rd. To raging success, we raised $560,000 and had 500 folks in attendance between the main event and the after party. This year, we celebrated 31 esteemed library laureates, authors, artists, and creatives who make our community and our libraries vibrant, including Alexis Madrigal, R.O. Kwan, Kara Swisher, Kathy Park Hong, and Dorothy Lazard, among others. This year's theme was support for the library amongst generations, and it was truly a multi-generational event, from the event itself to our laureates to our thriving after party of young library supporters. I wanted to also invite everyone to attend our upcoming book sale block party on June 7th at Friends' office in Potrero Hill. Early bird special starts at 11 a.m. There will be over 70,000 books on sale that day, in addition to a visit from the Bookmobile, and readings by Summer Stride authors and artists Sandy Santamaria and Minnie Fan. We also look forward to DJ Heart of Gold spinning disco favorites and a lovely day despite what we expect not to be June gloom in San Francisco. Hope to see you there.
Commissioners, I'm Walt Belofsky, president of the San Francisco Bay chapter of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. I spoke to you last month urging the San Francisco Public Library to become a partner library of Books Unbanned to fight book banning around the country. And I don't need to repeat that, but I was expecting a spokesperson from the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence to come and let you know their position on the matter. And they will be here, but unfortunately too late to speak to you during open time. So I just wanted to put that on the record, that they will have position paper and they'll have something in writing for you.
Thank you very much. Further public comment?
My name is Jason Gibbs. I recently retired from the library, but about a year ago, while I was still employed, learned a lot about the strategic plan, which I was not involved with. But one of the things that was very heartening in the discussion was the discussion of joy and wonder at the library, and I thought I'd tell you a little bit about joy and wonder. it's not uncommon that someone will come into the library who doesn't use the library. Somebody will give them a piece of paper with a number on it. They don't know what to do. There's so many books. You lead them to the shelf. There it is. And they are just astounded that we have the system where you can find that. But it's not really magic that does it. It has to do with trained professionals. Somebody had to select the book. Somebody had to negotiate the contract so we could buy the book. The book arrives, we have to do physical processing, cataloging. Has to get transported to the library. Then it gets shelved. Then it has a life on the shelf. Somebody has to decide, do we keep it? Do we withdraw it? And all these things are done by dedicated professionals. So it really isn't magic. It's an involvement of systems, of people who are overlooked and not really mentioned in all the sort of wonderful things you like to talk about. But I feel like you should know that wonderful things are happening among the staff, that we have systems in place, we have dedicated people, and that the maintenance every day of a collection that serves the public is what we are all dedicated to, and I hope you will be dedicated to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further public comment?
That was well said. Yes, thank you. My name is Ruben. I'm a library officer. I'm here to welcome our new Commissioner Jones. Welcome. I representing SEIU 1021, Service Employees International Union 1021. So we just wanted to welcome you as well as the other commissioners, as well as Pete coming back. I just wanted to add that, sorry, one second. One of the requests that I was thinking about that I'd mentioned before was that one of the things we as an audience can appreciate is when you have dynamic conversations on a given topic. It's really helpful for us to learn. Sometimes being a layperson, I'm not familiar with certain terms or certain topics. We had a high-level conversation, I think, one of the prior meetings when different terms were spoken about. And I think it's always helpful, whether that meeting or other meetings, that whenever there's a dynamic conversation on a given topic, it always helps the layperson understand where things are moving to. So just something to consider, because I think it's really edifying and very helpful. And with that, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment? Seeing there's no further public comment is now closed. Just want to thank everyone for participating and offering your comments today. We now turn to item number 2, which is approval of the April 2025 meeting minutes. It's a discussion and possible action to approve the April 17th, 2025 commission meeting minutes. We will open up for public comment before our commission discussion on this item. As a reminder, please limit your public comment to this specific agenda item. Public comment is now open here in Corrette.
Thank you. It's a small thing, and I feel guilty bringing it up. I was mentioned in last month's minutes as being the circulation supervisor at Ocean View since 2014. So just a little minor correction, because I feel that would be inaccurate. Thank you.
Any other further public comment on this item?
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. I give that information for those who are possibly here, but also for the remote folks. They know how to reach the commission, presumably, and they know how to reach library management. If somebody is interested in anything that I've said or am interested in or want to talk about whatever they're concerned about with respect to the library, I'm certainly interested in making a connection. These minutes do not include what I say every time I speak, which is that contact information, and I'd like that to be in there. I say it for a reason, and it takes up valuable time. I said quite a bit more than what you have here. I think that these minutes are pitifully short and brief and incomplete, and also distort what people say to the point of meaninglessness, especially if there is any kind of criticism. I welcomed the new commissioner, said he seemed to have a really excellent background, and also wished him luck when I concluded. That's not in here. I talked about the importance of the library. I talked about the good commissioners who have left, the two, Maul and Ono, and particularly Maul, who I said was especially good at asking, when she did asked very good questions. I commented about 2 minutes. Your public comment has been reduced from 3 minutes to 2. I don't think that's very much open public, open government or democracy. It's a bad direction for you to be taking. I commented about the toxicity of Facebook, as mentioned by a variety of other folks. None of that is in here and should. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment on this agenda item? Seeing there's no further public comment's closed, and we will now turn this over to the commission. I'm wondering if someone would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the April commission meeting.
I move to approve the minutes with one edit on the first page, the sentence stating Ruben Juarez, circulation supervisor at the Ocean View branch since 2000, with the edit to 2014 instead.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second? So we have a motion from Commissioner Huang and a second from Commissioner Calhoun.
And I'll take the roll call. Commissioners, please say aye or no when I call your name. President Wolf?
Aye.
Vice President Wong?
Aye.
Commissioner Calhoun?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
The motion passes unanimously. We now turn to item number 3, which is the discussion on library programming performance metrics, our mid-year report. And I turn the meeting over to City Librarian Michael Lambert.
Thank you, President Wolf. Good evening, Library Commissioners. Library staff appreciate the opportunity to bring this presentation on library programming metrics. In response to the interest expressed in this topic, at last month's meeting, our Chief of Public Services, Dolly Goyle, has worked with her team to compile this report. In teeing this up for Dolly, I just want to highlight that for over a decade now, the San Francisco Public Library has been intentional about delivering a more experiential service model, hosting thousands of events, performances, classes, workshops, story times every year, drawing hundreds of thousands of visitors. So this has been a growth area for us as we continue to make the transition from a more traditional service model, which has centered around more transactional touch points for our residents. This evolution is how we foster community and bring people together. It's embedded in our mission to connect our diverse communities to learning, opportunities, and each other, as well as our strategic priorities and organizational shifts outlined in our Vision 2030 strategic plan. And now it is my pleasure to turn it over to Dolly Goyle, Chief of Public Services.
Good afternoon, President Wolf and Commissioners. We are delighted to be presenting the Programming Performance Metrics Report for you today. And I'm also proud to be joined here with Angel Castro, our Public Services Analyst, who will be walking through the programming data itself. All right, so before we dive deeply into our data, I wanted to take you through our overarching vision for public programming and how it aligns with the strategic plan, Vision 2030. While we all know libraries serve as an essential resource in providing access to information that is free for all, our public programs fulfill another essential need. They build community and connection among neighbors and strangers. They teach and train to help people achieve their goals, and they bring joy, entertainment, and thought-provoking ideas into people's lives. Thanks to the work of all of our public services library staff from the 28 branches, including the main library, and our community programs and partnerships division, the driving message behind our programs is to foster shared experience for a more connected community. While we have work to do to achieve all of the tenets of Vision 2030, our programming efforts are pretty solid. As you can see, we've already taken to heart the direction of Vision 2030. As literacy champions, we are creating new family literacy festivals to support young readers and their families. As cultural amplifiers, we are highlighting the ethnic diaspora of the Bay Area through our Heritage Month programs such as Southwest Asia and North Africa, which you heard about last month. As community catalyzers, we are vital partners in San Francisco's revitalization efforts and our remarkable Night of Ideas and so many other exhibitions, Bay Beats concerts, and festivals that we spearhead or participate in. As thoughtful navigators, we're helping our community gain the education and skills they need to build a brighter future, from a fully accredited high school diploma program to a myriad of classes that support career transitions, language skills, and more. As resource providers, we are out there in the community supporting home libraries with new books and championing digital equity by getting technology into people's hands. And with that, I will let Angel talk through some of our data metrics and how we're doing with programming. Angel, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Dolly, for the introduction. Hello, commissioners. As mentioned, I'll be reviewing some of our data metrics and what we're able to pull, starting with our program numbers. As you may remember from last month's presentation by RSA, we want to present these again as a review of the analysis we'll talk about today. As you can see, this is a historical year-to-year breakdown of youth programs shown in blue and adult programs shown in orange for the past 10 fiscal years. While we have yet to reach pre-COVID levels of programming, we have continually climbed since the pandemic and are on track to deliver more than 14,700 programs this year for all ages. This is a 63% increase for all programs compared to fiscal year 23, which is when we really began to significantly ramp up programming numbers following the pandemic. For this fiscal year, year-to-date, we're projected to surpass last fiscal year's program numbers with an even greater share of adult programs at 37% compared to fiscal year's share of 35%. Overall, what we're seeing as our city ages and our programming efforts become more embedded among all our frontline staff is that our programs for adults climb to a higher percentage of overall programs than it did historically. Similarly to our programs, we're also seeing a post-pandemic high in our attendance, which is expected to reach more than 400,000 program participants this year. This will surpass our previous fiscal year and is also at 81% of FY 2019 numbers. Even more remarkably, our adult attendance for the past 2 years is higher than it ever was, even pre-COVID. I also want us to keep in mind that our attendance for big flagship events such as Night of Ideas, our most recent open houses, and other large community events are yet to be included in this fiscal year since they have taken place during this quarter. Looking at this breakdown, we can also examine how specific categories within youth and adult programs look like in the following slide. Beyond the labels of youth and adult that we just saw, we have specific age-based categories within them, such as early childhood, elementary school age, middle school, teen, and family that are consistent with the California State Library definitions. Staff will use these audience types to categorize who the primary audience is for a program. To clarify, this does not necessarily mean everyone who shows up for, say, an elementary school age program will fall under that age range of the indicated audience type. This is just to show how a program is categorized. Looking at this bar graph, you can see that our early childhood programs, our story times, play times, art-based activities, are recurring programs that drive this category to be our largest share of overall programs when looking at audience type. Following this category are adult programs, labeled in blue, with big drivers being movement-based activities like our Tai Chi programs, career coaching workshops, tech help tutorials, and book clubs. Now that we've viewed our audience types, we can also look at our programs through the lens of our topic tags, which can specify specific interests, themes, and languages. When looking at our branch-specific data, we see that each branch offered an average of 315 programs in the first 9 months of this fiscal year and had more than 8,000 participants on average attend those programs. You may ask, what does that look like on a more detailed level? And so one way we can understand this is through the lens of our topic tags. Topic tags can be thought of as a curation tool similar to a hashtag, where internally we're able to understand what is happening thematically with our programs. Out of the 70 tags we have, with the top 30 shown here, staff can choose up to 4 topic tags for a program. As such, I want to note that in this specific visual, that the numbers shown in this bar graph will exceed the total program count, since programs with more than 1 tag get counted more than once. With that being said, we can see that the most common topic tags at branches are related to story times, which is consistent with what we know about our programs. With these topic tags, we can also be granular in how we market our programs, as seen in the differences between storytime tag for toddlers, for babies, or for families. This specificity allows our patrons to find the best fit for their interest. Coming second is community and neighborhood, which reflects how our branches are tailoring their programs to their local communities. And we can also use these tags to highlight our program offerings that are in other languages. For example, here we have over 250 programs tagged under either Spanish or Chinese, which supports our limited English proficient and monolingual patrons access library offerings. Moving along over that same period, the 7 floors of the main library, which include the lower level, offered almost 2,000 programs with an overall attendance of over 65,000 people. Here we can see that diversity of programs and what that looks like through the different tags shown. In our top 3 topics, we can link these to frequent programs that happen in the bridge, such as those tagged under tech time, or to music lessons at the mix tagged under dance and music, or more senior focused programs that happen and are tagged under older adult. You may also notice that the topic tags can speak to the resources that are directly available on site here at the main library, such as our Jobs and Career Center under the tag College and Jobs, or to our access services through the Disability and Accessibility Interest tag. Overall, analyzing our topic tag is just an additional example of how we can evaluate our programs on a much granular level. Outside of the data that we create internally through our program entries, we also gather data from our patrons, shown through our patron satisfaction survey. You may be familiar with this data shown last month, which showed the results of our monthly survey. With this table here, we are able to take a deeper dive into that survey and look at a specific set of statements that patrons are sent and then asked to rate with how much they agree with them on a scale of 1 to 10. And additionally, for context, that these specific questions shown here have only been asked twice so far as part of our 6 rotating sections. Here we see that we have mostly high ratings and that patrons are well informed about our program offerings thanks to our stellar marketing department. Patrons also rank program quality to be high as well. And in the bottom 2 ratings, as areas of improvement, we can see that patrons would like to have programs at more convenient times, as well as programs that are more suited to their interest. So with this feedback, in our next slide, you'll see how we can begin to analyze that programming data to begin that conversation. Looking at when programs begin, this slide uses our previous fiscal year 2024 programming data in order to give you a complete year of information. Here you can see above that branch programs happen most often on Tuesdays and Saturdays, with 10 and 11 a.m. being the most common start times. And a big driver behind those are that our story times happen most often during those times. And below, main programs take on a different story and happen most often on Wednesdays, with 4 p.m. being the most popular start time. And programs usually after that time are tailored for adults, which is consistent with us just having a greater number of adult services librarian than youth at Maine. And additionally, early release for San Francisco Unified School District students is on Wednesday, which can help maybe support the number of programs scheduled at the youth centers on those days for both branch and main. In response to our patron survey, we can continue to examine our programming data and metrics to evaluate our performance as we plan for the future. With that information, I will pass it back to Dolly, who will continue to explain our programming offerings through the lens of our strategic plan.
Thank you so much, Angel. The journey, I want to make sure everyone is aware, the journey to making data-driven decisions is fairly new. It started last year. We made this data available to our managers and trained them on how to utilize it to review their community demographics in order to prioritize the types of programs being offered. At the same time, we have invested more time in adjusting how we capture data in a way that would be useful for responding to community needs, which includes areas like the day and time and day of the week that are most popular for attendance. As we continue our journey, we're going to be focusing on creating programming metrics, and we've started that process, and where we can evaluate offerings and look at areas for where we can either expand programming or sunset them. In these conversations, we are looking beyond attendance and considering areas like impact, space capacity, and staff capacity. Right now, our programs vary in where they're held, as not all branches have a dedicated community room. And we may even use the entire library for an event or any outdoor spaces available. Additionally, staff currently have expectations of the number of programs they need to provide based on their communities, and we want to ensure we are intentional on where we're going to be allocating our resources. But going back to our strategic plan, as you can see, our programming is rich and varied and so important to meeting the goals of Vision 2030 to create a vibrant, equitable, and democratic San Francisco for everyone. Among the most important ways to do that is to make sure everyone is reading ready. Reading is a fundamental skill and personally a human right. It is the great way to further education and enrichment, and this is why we're ramping up our efforts beyond traditional story time by growing our FOG Reader program, adding special family literacy days, and expanding our decodable reader collections at every library this summer. We have a well-established history as a cultural amplifier thanks to the work led by our Cultural Programming Committee. And you can see here the range of heritage months and special programs that we celebrate every year, and many of them come here for a full report. These kinds of programs in the humanities and arts encourage people to think and talk about ethics and values, history, art, poetry, and other cultures. They help illuminate the experiences, beliefs, and values that unite us as human beings. They stimulate us to make connections where we noticed none before, between our ancestors and ourselves, between one culture and another, between the community and an individual. As a community catalyzer, we are supporting our library users both inside and outside of the library with special experiences like our long-standing National Park Shuttle programs that bring patrons from a branch library to our nearby national parks, and that program is almost 10 years old now. This captures the sharing of skills and stories among neighbors who gather at our craft programs, and even more so at our robust and beloved branch open houses. As thoughtful navigators, we are helping the community shape their future with learning opportunities such as business classes, robotics, AI awareness, and gaining new skills like 3D printing to help prepare everyone for future opportunities. This also encompasses the tremendous work we have done and continue to work on for our immigrant community, from ESL literacy to Know Your Rights workshops, which are being hosted this month. As resource providers, we provide the community with skills-based classes, but also the tools and opportunities to use those skills. This includes things like our annual Tech Week, which is happening right now, that offers a series of digital literacy classes, resulting in learners getting to bring home a refurbished computer upon completion. Additionally, covered in this priority, our Reach Recovery program provides free recovery literature, and we're expanding our meeting room access for recovery support groups. And finally, I will close with an image from our recent Friends of the Library Laureates Gala. It was a remarkable evening with the building filled with library supporters who all had chances to dine with literary who's who's of the Bay Area and telling stories of the ways libraries have improved their lives. I bring this here to remind everyone that we could not be doing the robust level of programs we offer without the tremendous support of the Friends of the Library that provide every aspect to provide for every aspect of our programming and community engagement. Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, friends of the library, for your support always for our library programs and our efforts.
Amen. Thank you, friends, and thank you, Dolly, and thank you, Angel.
Thank you very much, Dolly and Angel, for a great presentation. At this point, we are going to open it up for public comment, and then afterwards, we'll be likely calling you up so we can have a discussion amongst the commissioners. So public comment is now open on this particular agenda item here in Corrett Auditorium. Thank you.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association. Refer to the contact information from previously. Thanks for the presentation. I'm always, generally, I don't have a problem with what is being presented. I unfortunately didn't hear a certain four-letter word that seems to be on the outs in this library, and that four-letter word is book. I haven't seen anything at all about how to access the tremendously rich collection that the library does have, despite comments that might be critical at times. I don't see, for example, any kind of classes for how to access that, how to look a book up in the library. What I learned in grade school, last name, first name, I don't see that anywhere. I don't see what databases the library has. I don't see what specific collections they have. I don't see that people are taught that like things on a shelf are together. There's a whole range of things that's not provided here, and I'm pretty disappointed. I know you're talking about programming, but that should be a prime program or set of programs. Evening hours are pitiful, and since COVID, without any advertising about it, you have cut every 9 o'clock closure at every location that had it, and there were many, usually 2 or 3 times a week. You've cut that back to 8 o'clock. And if you look at the table of how many programs are in the evening, it is pitiful, certainly as a percentage of the total. And connecting communities with communities, you had a community group that was meeting for 50 years at a branch that was open till, well, for them on a day that they weren't even open. And it took political and other kinds of pressure to get them back in where they had been before. Hours are important.
Thank you very much. Further public comment?
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. I just wanted to speak to what programs involve. So just to flesh it out, and this will be a little granular. So for every program, there's preparation for it, the physical preparation that goes into getting a space ready. There's a prep for whether it's a in-house program or somebody coming from the outside, there's a preparation there. On the paraprofessional side, which is where I'm at, working with the talent to make sure they feel comfortable with the physical landscape when they come in, that, to get your materials, is there anything we can do to help with the setup? Do we need to put a screen up? So there's a lot involved on that end. And obviously there's the program itself, which is always such a delightful thing, because on our end, to see an audience that's happy, because one of the other pieces we have to do is get the count for how many people are attending the program. And then afterwards, after the program's over, and thank you for coming, please come back and see us again, see you soon, that piece of it. There is the breakdown where you have to put everything away, and then the next level, which is looking at the program. What could we have done better? How can we improve upon it? Are there things that we might have missed? So there's a lot of different elements that go into a program. I'm sharing all this I know I'm getting granular, sharing all this to give you all a sense of what a program entails and the work that's involved in it. And I think when we're being intentional in looking at resources, to involve staff in terms of this process would be important, given all that happens. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment on this agenda item?
Hi, my name is Jason Gibbs, retired librarian. The one thing I noticed over the past few years is a great inflation in the demand to give programming, to the point where there's conflicting programming where you basically divide up your audience so that you don't really get the attendance you want. Early in my career, it was pretty typical to have a program in here. 100 people was normal, often more. Nowadays, it's hard to bring in that many people, I think, because of just the inflation of activity going on. The other thing that I'm sort of concerned about is this preference of the experiential versus service. I mean, I'm old-fashioned, but to me, the job was all about service, about being there to serve the public day in and day out, to provide them access to the resources of the library. And it is a telling thing about the strategic plan and the discussion of all this, like Mr. Warfield said, that the book is left out. That I guess it is a four-letter word, because there are still people dedicated to the book, and I know the staff is too. And just if there's a way, I think, to follow up with we used to do programming where we would introduce databases, how to search the collection, but that has all been de-emphasized. So I think that is a worthy goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further public comment on this item? Seeing there's no further public comment on this item, public comment is now closed, and we will open this up for commission discussion. Thank you, Dolly and Angel, for joining us. And I see also in our audience is Michelle and Randy, who are the brain trust behind all this, along with so many other staff. So I just want to begin by thanking the staff for compiling this information, but also doing all the programming that went into creating this data. It was a really rich and informative presentation. So I will open it up for a public comment. I'm sorry, for my fellow commissioners' comments, questions? Anyone want? Okay, Commissioner Calhoun.
I can't believe Pete didn't beat me to the data punch. Thank you both so much. And not criticism, just curiosity. On the slide with the patron satisfaction, where pretty much everything was green. Yeah, thank you. Were there things kind of below the fold there that were maybe in different colors? This is the complete suite of questions you asked.
I'm going to defer to my RSA team here. Thank you, Randy.
Hi, everybody. Randy McClure here, Chief Analytics Officer. On this particular topic of programming, this is the complete set of questions. There are additional questions that we ask monthly in the broader library patron satisfaction sphere. But for programming specifically, this is everything we ask.
Truly remarkable.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Any further questions? Commissioner Jones?
Sorry, it's my first time into the mic, so hi, everyone. I want to echo all the sentiments. I mean, incredible work. And, to Mr. Gibbs' point, this is the power of the systems working together to make all of these programmings come to life. So amazing work. I think as you continue to look for data and unpack kind of the story of what our patrons are telling us they love from us and want more from us, I think the power of separating out and kind of separating adult versus youth in your diagnostics will be really powerful. Just because even when you look at the sentiment, your satisfaction score and time, comes up at the bottom, it could be interesting. Is that actually a sentiment that really lives in the adult programming, or is it actually in the youth programming? And so it could help, I think, the teams start to understand where maybe some of the pain points are and feel really focused about supporting our patrons more effectively. So just be my one.
Definitely. Thank you.
Commissioner Huang.
I just wanted to plus one your comments, Commissioner Jones. First off, I am extremely proud of the programming that SFPL does. Like, if you just took the programming alone and said that that was what SFPL was, I would be extremely proud to be associated with that on its own, right? So huge congratulations to everyone who has done anything ever for a single program, a sort of a monthly celebration, people who do programs regularly. It is a layer on top of, you know, the core sort of definition or traditional definition of a library, and it adds so much to the experience. I think it dramatically increases or widens the type of people who might want to interact with SFPL and the types of things that you can learn and the type of knowledge you can gain, community connection you can gain, and all these sort of things that really broaden the experience. I think as I think about programs, you're actually in a very sort of interesting kind of / hard set of questions to answer. The broad one being very simply, how do we get better from here? Right? And if you just ask that to the public, everyone's going to come up with a billion answers, which can range from, okay, we need to drive more attendance, we need to have more events, we need to have like better programs, and then you start getting into sub questions like, what does better mean? Like all these different things. So as you proceed and in terms of building this capability of understanding just at a system level what is going on, this is both a sort of like a warning and a sort of encouragement in a certain direction. You're going to run into a lot of moments where you can actually get into distracting lines of thought that don't actually sort of produce the right answer, right? So as an example, if we sort of managed towards this graph alone that's on the screen, and we only said, like, as long as the line goes up and to the right, then we're good, like, we get to very, very distracting sort of activities and takeaways from that, right? Like, that you start to do things that the programs start to feel worse and all these different things. And so as you come back to us in a number of months with further thoughts on how you're thinking about this, one thing I would appreciate is, and Dolly knows this, but helping us understand the framework by which you are understanding what better even means is very helpful. So, you know, there are a bunch of versions of this. One of them is, as you think of, for example, the portfolio of events that we have, some of these things are long-standing community events like Storytime. Storytime is always the most popular. There's also like new and creative and quirky things that really define sort of like what we can do as a library system, and that's what makes SFPL special. How do you manage those two? Because one of them could be regularly attended by 50 kids every Tuesday morning, and another one can only get 10 people, but it's like a really cool and interesting idea, and you don't want to like shut that second one down just for the purpose of managing towards a number, right? That creative muscle is useful. And that's just one of like 10 interesting questions that come up along the way. So that's just like one thing I'm looking forward to, is just understanding the management thought around this on like when we think about programming strategy, how do we like sort of get clarity, right? And what is the framework that we can lay out to sort of help us and then also the rest of the staff understand kind of the general direction that we want to push in. No questions on this particular presentation, just something that's sort of top of mind as I think about this moving forward. But thank you very much for pulling everything together. And again, very proud of all the work that we do in this area.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to shift a little bit to more detailed analysis. Thank you, commissioners, for your great observations and insights. If we go back to the number of programs offered, we're just there, slide 12. I had a question about this. It's fascinating to see that, actually it's the next one, 13, sorry. It's fascinating to notice that youth programs have been cut in half since, or attendance is in half from over the last 10 years, and adult programming has doubled, you know, so there's just this great kind of shift. And my question is, was this intentional? Like, how do you set your goals each year for the kind of balance and the kind of participation you want? Because to me, these are numbers, but I don't have any sense of what your goals are, what you're striving to achieve. So can you talk about these numbers in terms of goal setting?
Sorry, thank you. I can speak a little bit toward that. I know that COVID happened, and it just changed everything for all libraries. And we're coming back again with that focus of we're going to serve all of our youth. That's usually the mindset of libraries. Things have changed, and what's great about that is the opportunity around that. We have a lot more younger generation of adults who are coming back to libraries in ways they haven't before. And so that is something that we need to look into. We need to see, wait a minute, now we have a newer audience that wasn't there before. It was an audience that we were always looking to capture, and now they're here and they're interested and they're supportive and they are creatives and they want something different than what we have offered before. So I would say we are new in kind of that journey for serving our adult population. We had typical programs in the past that we had heard from communities they wanted and understand the time of days they could attend it. Our older adults preferred morning program, and since we tailor programming at that time for them. But now again, we have a newer generation that we need to look at and examine. And then while we're doing that, examining our resources, because our resources are staying the same. So then we have to shift our focus into how are we going to prioritize the types of programming, and then see what types of programs that interest that new generation. Does that help them?
I'll chime in
Actually,
a little bit here.
Yes, thank you.
And Michelle, you're welcome to chime in as well if you'd like. When I look at this graph,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how intentional the strategy was,
Yeah.
because coming out of COVID, we were focused on recovery.
Yeah.
Right.
And really, in my mind, restoration of what we had pre-pandemic. And so I know if you look at FY21, FY22, there was still a lot of fear of people coming together in crowds, and story time is like the penultimate crowd experience. And so I think our rhythm was disrupted pretty harshly. And so I think what you're seeing here is that continued post-pandemic recovery and people's behavior somewhat normalizing to what it was. And then, there is also San Francisco lost population. Yeah. I mean, families left the city for a variety of reasons. And that may not be the biggest driver of this, but I do think that, the loss in population, we felt that in loss of patronage. But again, I think Dolly is alluding to some of the more recent intention behind what we're doing, but I think, overall, our goal has just really been recovery and restoration. Did you want to add anything to that, Michelle?
You said it so well, Michael. Sorry, Michelle Jeffers from Community Programs and Partnerships. I think there's a couple of other things at play too. One was the hiring after the pandemic. So we were down some children's librarians. So it has taken a while to get fully staffed up with children's librarians. The other thing is that a lot of the adult attendance does reflect online programs. We don't see kids coming to online programs, but we are able to capture a lot more adults through our online programs. All those job and career and, how to understand how to file for unemployment, all those things that the fourth floor does so well, that whole Work It program, a lot of it was brought online, a lot of it daytime programs, but people are loving it and coming to it. We don't see people sitting their kids in front of a screen to watch a children's program.
That's really helpful. I guess what I would just encourage you is, in the spirit of what Commissioner Huang had encouraged you to think about, is to just really think through, when you're presenting this, what were the goals for the year? Like, what was our goal for the year, and are we reaching those goals? I'm a real believer in public programs from my own experience that less is sometimes more. More is not always more. And so I think understanding what your goals are, even for each program. There may be programs that you create that the goal is only 12 participants. Great. And if you get 10 participants, that's wonderful. But if your goal is 40 and you get 10, and that's consistent, then it's not just how many people can sit in a room, but what is your intention for participation? And so I think that could be a really great tool for the staff to really think about. I also think that, so thank you for considering that, just the kind of intentionality, the goal setting of what we're trying to do. And again, I'm not asking for more, I'm asking for just being able for you to set realistic goals and achieve them. I also want to encourage you to really think about what the patient satisfaction area is really, how to really unpack that. Pete alluded to that, and it's complicated because everyone's going to say something, and the same person may say something one day and something completely contrary the next day. But that's something that you as professionals can really think about and really help shape those conversations to get to the programs. You know, we have less population, we have less funding, so we have to be incredibly diligent about how we spend our time and effort to make the most bang for our buck and to really serve everyone. So these program metrics that you talked about, Dolly, are going to be incredibly important to us. I just want to say thank you to the team for starting this whole initiative to really start gathering the data. And we're looking to see more robust data as as all this unfolds, as you really start digging in, because these numbers are incredibly illuminating, but they leave a lot of questions. And as we all know, when you get the mailing of what's happening for the month at the library or the email blasts about what's happening, there's so much going on, and I circle 9 million things and barely can show up to most of them, but when I do, it's just really fantastic to see the level of participation, to see the quality of the programs that are presented, and the way in which every staff member who touches a program, the kind of pride and joy that they give to it to make sure that it is the best experience possible for all the participants. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for your incredible work. There's still work to be done, and the data is showing some really interesting information, and let's keep unpacking it, and just know that you have our support to really dig deeper and to dream big, but to also do it in a way that is the most useful, practical, impactful, and joyful. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think that ends this part of the agenda item. And so we will now move on to item number 4, which is always our really joyful moment of the agenda. And this presentation today is not going to disappoint. I turn this over to our city librarian, Michael Lambert.
Thank you, President Wolf. And we have a number of reports this evening lined up, and as the first Asian American to serve as the city librarian, it is my pleasure to introduce Jess Uyang and Sachiko Iwabuchi. Jess is the children's youth librarian at Visitation Valley Branch, and Sachiko is our bilingual Japanese language librarian on the 3rd floor here in the International Center. And they're going to be presenting about Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, what we call Weaving Stories. So Jess, take it away.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Jess Oyang. I am a youth librarian and served on the youth work group for this year's Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which, as Michael just mentioned, we call Weaving Stories. This year's Weaving Stories theme is strengthening the fabric of our community, which is highlighted beautifully in our new Weaving Stories artwork. Our artist this year is Jennifer K. Wofford, who created our lovely current artwork for Weaving Stories. Jennifer is a San Francisco artist and educator whose work investigates hybridity, history, and calamity, often with a humorous bent. She is also 1/3 of the Filipino-American artist trio MOB, a group creating artful conversations around culture and gender. Jennifer teaches in the Fine Arts and Philippine Studies programs of the University of San Francisco. Jennifer was born in and is based in San Francisco and was raised in Hong Kong, Dubai, Malaysia, and the Bay Area. Next, I want to highlight the Asian Pacific Islander American APIA Biography Project. This project began as a way to develop APIA biographies, cultural activities, and resources. The mission of the APIA Biography Project includes educating the general public about API America with an annual APIA Heritage Month celebration at the San Francisco Main Public Library, and a resource website created especially for K-12 students and teachers. This year, the APIA Biography Project held their kickoff event on April 27th, which focused on the magic and influence of picture book storytelling. Storytellers Olive Chin of Awesome Asian Americans and Tracy Hahn of Mamie Tape Fights to Go to School led readings and discussions of their books. I want to thank our very own Jerry Deere for his commitment to creating space for this ongoing partnership. Next, I want to highlight some book lists. Book lists are a great tool our staff use to curate standout books. Book lists function like virtual book displays and highlight books by theme in a searchable and eye-catching virtual format. This year for Weaving Stories, our librarians created and updated book lists that connect patrons to library materials, centering AA and HBI experiences. On the screen are some book lists I want to highlight for you. We have AA and HBI biographies for kids, teen novels with AA and HBI protagonists, music and movies that celebrate diverse AA and HBI narratives, and poetry inspired by our poet laureate, Jenny Lim. Okay, this year's centrally booked Weaving Stories presenters were selected and arranged by our youth and adult Weaving Stories work groups. Thank you to this year's youth work group of Colleen Umali, Ellen Guan, and Jen Wu, and the adult work group of Annie Tang, Jana Ray Cabrera, Kevin Darling, Kyle He, Liza Lee, Lori Talarico, and Ray Garrett. The Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander community is richly diverse in experience and plays an integral part in the San Francisco community we know and love. Our work groups took great care to be as representative as possible in our offerings this year. We have many returning favorites, as well as new presenters we are excited to offer. We also have some standout Weaving Stories programs booked or led by our librarians we want to highlight for you today. The following slides are arranged by program type and include programs for youth, all ages, and adult audiences. For workshops for adults, we have a returning presenter we are delighted to host again, Kenneth Tan. This year, Kenneth is offering meditative banik drawing. This workshop invites adults in our community to explore the meditative art of drawing baniks, which are traditional Filipino woven mats. Through a calming and creative process of repetitive pattern drawing, participants experience both artistic expression and mindfulness. For author talks and presentations, an author talk program I want to highlight features Tracy Hahn, which is one of the storytellers who presented at this year's APIA Biography Project kickoff event. Tracy was born and raised in San Francisco and writes stories for kids rooted in Asian American culture, history, and identity. Mamie Tape Fights to Go to School is Tracy's debut picture book about Mamie Tape, the 8-year-old Chinese American who fought for the right to attend school in San Francisco in the 1880s. We are so glad to host Tracy's author talk, Young Changemakers with Tracy Hahn. Tracy's program combines an author read-aloud of her book with an interactive craft activity that lets participants recreate key pieces of Mamie Tape's story. We hope this interactive author talk helps generate thoughtful conversations about this not-so-distant history in our community. Okay, for performances for youth, it is a delight to host returning favorite Halau Ha'a Kea o Kinohi, an educational hula performance group. Participants learn about the cultural meaning and history of hula and watch a Hawaiian dance performance. Halau continues their hula teacher, Kumu Paul Neves' cultural practice of the traditional ways of the Hawaiian people. They emphasize aloha as a lifestyle and family, leadership, discipline, and unity as the core of communal expression. Halau wants to make a difference in the world through the practice of Hawaiian culture and values. Halau will be performing in August, so you have time to attend one of their can't-miss performances if you wish. Okay. For adults, we welcome Shanta Nimbark Sakharov to bring her engaging, informative food programming back to our libraries. Shanta is presenting A Tale of Two Chutneys, which is an interactive presentation that explores the world of Indian condiments through the preparation of two vibrant chutneys. Shanta will introduce participants to the essential herbs and spices that define Indian cuisine, sharing both culinary techniques and cultural context. This event includes a tasting session where attendees can sample the chutneys alongside homemade chai and crackers, and concludes with a Q&A for deeper discussion. It is a warm sensory experience that blends food, culture, and conversation. For youth, we are delighted to bring a perennially popular June Jolie to return and offer fresh food programs. June is an accomplished food ethnographer. In her own words, June explores how talking about food is a safe way to open up portals into the complexity of our wildest dreams. Everything connects through food. June's food workshop, Kimchi and Crouchy with June Jolie, features a read-aloud of her book, Sandor Cats and the Tiny Wild, as well as a kimchi-making demonstration and the opportunity to make your own crouchy, which is a delicious hybrid of sauerkraut and kimchi and a perfect example of the connective power of food. I will now pass the microphone to Sachiko, who will speak about the sake program hosted here at the main library just last week.
Good evening, Commissioners. I am Sachiko Iwabuchi, Japanese language librarian here in the International Center in Maine. So today I'm going to report the sake and shosochu program I had in Maine. SFPL worked hand in hand with the Consulate General of Japan in San Francisco to put together a sake and sochu tasting program. Sake and shochu, a taste of Japanese tradition and craftsmanship at the main library. Attendees celebrated Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month with a presentation on the rich tradition of sake and shochu. In December 2024, UNESCO officially recognized traditional knowledge and skills of sake making with koji mold in Japan as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Everyone was able to sample different types of sake and shochu, expertly paired with small bites to deepen their understanding of these unique beverages. We had 3 vendors attending that brought sake and shochu to share: Ozeki sake, Takara sake, and Ichiko shochu. Additionally, the chefs of the Consul General's residence made snacks to pair with the tastings. Thank you.
Okay. I want to say we are honored to continue building relationships with talented AA and HPI presenters in our library community and continue to offer programming that reflects the rich nuances of the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander diaspora in San Francisco and beyond. We will continue to feature AA and HPI authors, performers, and presenters all year round. Thank you, Commissioners, for your time.
Thank you, Jess, and thank you, Sachiko. And now I'm pleased to introduce our next presenter, Ruben Balderas, our Early Literacy Coordinator from the Community Programs and Partnerships Division. And Ruben is going to present on Dia de los Niños, Dia de los Libros. Take it away.
All right, thank you, Michael. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, colleagues, members of the public that are here today. I am here to share about the 26th annual celebration of the library's Día de los Niños, Día de los Libros program, which took place at Parque Niños Unidos in the Mission on Sunday, April 27th, 2025. San Francisco's Día de los Niños, Día de los Libros is a celebration of children and books rooted in a longtime Latin American tradition of celebrating children. San Francisco's first Día de los Niños, Día de los Libros was held in 1999, and each year since then, organizers continue to volunteer their time and resources to achieve the goal of championing and promoting literacy and uniting families of all cultures through a community-based, child-centered event. A key component to Día de los Niños, Día de los Libros is the partnerships we make with agencies from around the city, and in particular from the Mission neighborhood, to guide residents toward vital services and comprehensive networks that support the whole family's well-being by bringing the library and partner agencies directly to the people, fostering new relationships and expertise sharing between community members. As a part of the joy of the day, the partnering agencies host fun literacy-based activities and arts and crafts that families can easily replicate. All sponsors are encouraged to plan activities using recycled materials found in most homes, and importantly, provide the opportunity to engage in hands-on exploration and learning. In addition to these activities, each organization brings with them valuable information about resources that San Francisco families can access, from healthcare to the arts to education and more. This year, the library was joined by many partners, 826 Valencia, Bookwagon, Caresen SF, Casadulas Care Center, Children's Book Project, Children's Council of San Francisco, Compass Family Services, the Consulado General de Mexico in San Francisco, Felton Institute, Homeless Prenatal Program, Instituto Familiar de la Raza, Kindergarten to College, Latino Task Force, Luna's Press Books, Mission Graduates, Mission Neighborhood Centers, Mission Neighborhood Health Centers, the National Park Service, Native American Health Center, Nature Cart, the San Francisco Department of Elections, San Francisco Youth Theater, and Visión y Compromiso. And I want to give a special shout out and thanks to KQED, San Francisco Department of Early Childhood, Good Samaritan Family Resource Center, San Francisco State Jumpstart, Tandem Partners in Learning, and Wu Yi Children's Services for their role in joining members of the San Francisco Public Library staff as part of the DIA organizing committee. So we work 6 months to put together this program, get all of these partners together to come out for this one day and share resources with everyone. And you'll see in the pictures just how much joy it brings. So Día de los Niños, Día de los Libros also serves as a cultural amplifying event in addition to the wonderful activities and resources for families. Each year, we're proud to present artists of a variety of backgrounds who celebrate their identities and their work and who help foster a joyful atmosphere for all. This year, the community got to enjoy the incredible bubble tricks of Bubblesmith Sterling Johnson, a stirring welcome to spring and Aztec dancing with Danza Azteca Citlali Zolotl, a lively capoeira demonstration and workshop with Jarrell Phillips, a calming yoga session in the park with It's Yoga Kids, and the day was capped off with a rousing Brazilian drum and dance performance by Local Bloco SF. That's the one right in the middle there. By popular demand from last year's attendees, we also offered an extended sensory-friendly time with no amplified sound for individuals with auditory sensitivities to start the day. And then next, I wanted to zoom in a bit to show off the activities that San Francisco Public Library was doing that day. First was a book giveaway. San Francisco Public Library gave away about 1,000 children's books in English and Spanish for youth to add to or start their home libraries. This annual celebration has now seen SFPL distribute over 25,000 multilingual books in the community. The bookmobile was there, powering the stage and also providing community members with core library services, allowing families to come on board, get a library card, and check out books. Teen interns from the mix were there leading a button-making activity, engaging with the younger children and getting valuable work experience that they can take with them into college applications and other future job endeavors. And our Fog Readers program was there to talk to parents about San Francisco Public Library's reading remediation program for students in grades 1 through 4. Special thanks are in order to Excelsior Branch Manager Joanna Arteaga Laspina for keeping the day on track as our wonderful MC. Thanks to the Mission Branch librarians Laura Tarango and Mary Ellen Massa for participating in the DIA organizing committee and booking our presenters. Thanks to SFPL's Family Engagement Coordinator Jen Wu for helping to wrangle all the necessary permits to hold the event. And thank you to Commissioner Lopez for participating by sharing public remarks about the support that people can find in the community, particularly at the public library. And it was a big lift making sure that an event like this works and runs smoothly. So there's other people to thank, Suzanne Beatty, Elaine Bozanellos, Pocholo Carci Cruz, Sam Genovese, Carol Guzman, Bon Harris, Betty Ho, Michelle Jeffers, Chris McAuliffe, Egon McLean, Rafael Ortiz, Eve Benya, Elizabeth Perez, Marty Pinol, and the mix interns, Ileana Pulu, Kelly Sheehan, Jamie Wong, Lyndon Zhao, the library's collections and finance teams, and of course, thanks to the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library for making programs like these possible. As you can hear, it's just a lot of people go into making something like this work. And so as I wrap up, I want to leave you with these pictures of smiling faces. While I mentioned that Dia de los Niños, Dia de los Libros is a child-centered event, I think that the smiles that you see prove that this is an event that bridges generations. It's a warm welcome to the Mission neighborhood that fosters a sense of belonging. And I look forward to the next one. And also want to thank Commissioner Calhoun, Dolly, Michael for coming as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Ruben. And Randy, I don't know if you heard that. I think we need a Smiles Index score. That's what we need. All right, our final presenter is Michelle Jeffers, our Chief of Community Programs and Partnerships, and she is reporting out on Jewish Heritage Month.
Jewish Heritage Month. Hi, good evening, Commissioners. I am Michelle Jeffers from Community Programs and Partnerships, and I wanted to talk about a new program we started this month, which seems sort of funny after our earlier discussion, but we piloted something new. And we did hear from our community, really, that our staff, that this is a heritage that really needs to be celebrated in San Francisco, that this has been, the Jewish community has been instrumental in this city since the Gold Rush days, and we really need to recognize them and bring them into our cultural heritage celebrations. So I worked in partnership with Lynn Davidson, our Richmond branch manager, who also feels very strongly about the need to celebrate this community, and we met with community partners like Jewish Community High School, the Jewish Community Library, Bechol Lashon, and others to talk about what it could mean for the first year, what we could try, and some ideas for the month of May. We're still in Jewish Heritage Month, by the way. So to kick it off, we started with a series of family programs. Again, we decided to move forward with just a small pilot, but we did family programs and author talks, and it reminded me of how uplifting and affirming it is to see and recognize people for what they bring to San Francisco. For families, we offered a number of concerts with the Saul Goodman Klezmer Band, including one that was tied to our May the 4th Be With You Day celebrations. And truthfully, you haven't really enjoyed Klezmer music till you've heard them doing the Star Wars theme song. So it was really quite special. We also had a series of workshops with the Firelight Shadow Theater, led by Daniel Barish, that brought Jewish stories, wisdom, and songs to life through shadow puppet theater and puppet making workshops. Attendees reported finding these programs wonderful and among the most joyous celebrations hosted at their libraries. For adults or author talks, we felt it was also timely, based on the time we're living in right now. It was very timely to have a wonderful historical discussion of the Emma Lazarus poem that's on the base of the Statue of Liberty. Of course, this is a famous poem that references, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free." We wanted to talk about how this was a poem that was written by the most famous Jewish writer of her time, and recognize the work that went into it, and also the fact that she wrote it as part of a competition to raise money for the statue, but it was forgotten for 20 years after that and did not end up on the statue until 20 years after it was installed in New York Harbor. So it was good to remember that some things are, constant and need to be brought back even when they get forgotten, including our liberties. Later this month, I'm excited that we're hosting a program in the Hormel LGBTQIA Center with Rabbi Erwin Keller. He is a former drag queen and a member of the Kinsey Six drag capella group. And he has just written a new book, Shekna at the Art Institute. And so he'll be here talking about his essays, his memoir. He's most known for his viral protest poem, Taking Sides, and he'll lead us through his journey into Jewish mysticism, love, loss, memory, gender, AIDS, and the Milky Way. It wouldn't be a Heritage Month without books, so we did compile a number of book lists for adults, children, and older children. We would be remiss not to highlight all that we have many of these books all the time, but we did really want to highlight them, and they're highlighted on our homepage now for readers. And we are learning, I just learned of a new book written by a San Francisco school librarian, so I'm already starting planning for when we can bring her in to do a talk as well. So I know that we also just talked about thinking critically about our programs and what we can give up, but I feel like this might be a new Heritage Month that we're going to keep going and build on from this year.
Thank you, Michelle. And that concludes the City Librarian's report.
Thank you very much. Incredible presentations by Sachiko, Jess, Ruben, and Michelle. Thank you so much. And we know that behind each one of your presentations are huge numbers of people to support and make these things happen, especially you, Ruben. You were very generous in thanking so many of your colleagues, so thank you. We will open this up for public comment and then bring this back to the commission for conversation and discussion and questions. So public comment on this item, the City Librarian's report, is now open here in Corrett Auditorium.
Peter Warfield, Executive Director, Library Users Association. Contact info mentioned earlier. I'm always glad to hear about programming, and especially when it includes books. I do wish that the Jewish Heritage Month would show the dates when things did happen, and especially dates when they're going to happen, including the upcoming material that's still to happen. I've seen some of those around the main library, some of the publicity things. They usually don't talk about, well, let's just leave it at this would be better, more informative with dates and times. And in fact, that's one of the things that was puzzling me about the presentation earlier, and that is there were times shown for programming at 6 and at 7 on days when the library closes at 6 and is not open in the 6 to 7 hour or the 7 to 8 hour, and that might account for why there's so little attendance at those times. I can tell you from past experience, consistently every 5 years when the library has done surveys, the people when they're asked if we could give you more hours open, when would you like it? Overwhelmingly, almost everywhere, at every location, it's evenings and weekends. And evenings is exactly what the library has cut after COVID, and the impoverished, look at the numbers, there's something like 10% and 4% of the programming in the evening, which would be after 6. I attended some of the ongoing and coming future Tech Week, AI, the good, bad, and the ugly. Was pretty poor on the ugly. There was no mention of the climate implications and the energy implications, which are devastating, until public members brought it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further public comment on this agenda item? Seeing there's no further public comment is now closed, and I open this up for comments, discussions, and questions from my fellow commissioners. Okay, Commissioner Calhoun.
Wow, I am floored. Again, just in the spirit of gaining understanding, one of the things I was readily apparent through all of the presentations was that each one footed back to the earlier presentation, which was around assessing impact. So I really appreciate just being able to see that so readily. But it does beg a question. I concur. The lack of programming around Jewish heritage it was missing, and I'm grateful for that. But as you were putting that programming together, what kinds of questions were you asking about how do we know the impact of something that's net new?
I mean, I think that we were trying to, again, talk to partners before we planned any program to think about what was missing. And we also, you know, although we've come in the month of May and said, let's do Jewish Heritage Month programs, and everybody that is a Jewish serving organization is doing Jewish Heritage Month programs. So we wanted to make those strong partnerships and say, what's missing? What have you not had room for? We flat out said to the Jewish Community Library, like, is there a program that you weren't able to do that we could offer you this space right here to do it in? And really, like, what is not happening that we can still serve a place, and we want to be part of this conversation. So I think it was really embedding us this year to know that we're serious about this, and so that next year we can come out even stronger.
Thank you very much. But the question is still there, though. I mean, so you have an opportunity, or maybe it's a comment. As the next new thing comes along, is there a point in the development of new programming where we ask, or you ask, how do we know if this worked? How do we know if we got the outcomes we wanted? And I appreciate how important it is to be present in our community and fill the gaps. But it does feel like an opportunity to ask some of the questions that are already being asked, and then maybe also explore new ideas, right? Things that we don't have good data around, but we want to be sure that we're getting things from, because you don't do new as much as you might think you do, right? You kind of reinvent things that have already happened. So it's just it's a comment, it's something to put out there.
I would say that the good news to your question, too, is how we do them is that actually RSA and I are in the midst of working with a pro bono consultant to bring in more questioning and more evaluation of our programs. So we're just at the nascent stages of that project. I mean, we expect a deliverable or something in the next 4 weeks, but
Super.
We're on it.
Thank you. I appreciate your patience with me. Can I do one more? And then also in every one of the presentations, I noticed the natural bridge to community partners. So again, back to the first presentation and understanding impact, what do you ask your community partners about their views of the success of their participation in all the various programs that you've mentioned today?
That's a timely question because our executive leadership team, we've been meeting under the leadership of our research strategy and analytics unit, thinking about how do we realize Vision 2030 and implement our new strategic plan. We've brought in some help from the Controller's Office, the City Performance Unit, to facilitate a series of dialogues amongst the executive leadership team. And so as part of that process, one of the activities that we've identified for the upcoming fiscal year is how to develop criteria to assess programs' success, and also what to sunset. How do we stop doing certain things? But the other element that you touched upon is measuring our partners' level of satisfaction with working with us and developing a framework around evaluating partnerships as well. So we are of like minds. We are thinking about the same things that you all are requesting of us. And, you know, it's still kind of early days developing some of these frameworks that don't exist currently. But back to the first question about assessing impact, I think the overriding measurement of success for me about virtually everything that we talk about is residents' level of satisfaction with our programs and services. So that's my North Star as the city librarian.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? I just want to then conclude by saying, again, thank you to our presenters, and really thank you to the whole leadership team. I think you're really hearing what some of our questions and ambitions are for making the public programs, which are at the core of who the library is and reaching community partnerships, so important, and really asking some of the bigger questions to really get us to the place where we all are feeling like every dollar is being used so impactfully. I do want to just say that one of the things that's always so impressive, and today it was even made more apparent, is the level of partnership that we make and do in the community. What the staff here do to reach out and not be a lone ranger out there, but to really be partners and bring everyone in. And sharing the glory with everyone is a really beautiful aspect of what you do. And finally, I think what also we haven't even mentioned today, but I think it's important to mention as we're concluding our meeting with so much focus on public programs, what is remarkable about the public library is here in San Francisco, every program is free and accessible. And that is extraordinarily powerful and important, especially in this moment where resources in families and communities are not as strong as they once were. So I just want to say thank you. This is really one of these great moments to be incredibly proud of what San Francisco citizens are allowing the library to do, to be such important resources in the community. So thank you. We are now completed with today's meeting. And we now move to item number 5, which is adjournment. And I just want to remind people before we adjourn, if you want to buy books as opposed to, check them out, go on June 7th to the Friends special event. It's always a great time, and it's a wonderful way to build your library in a very affordable way if you want to. So we are adjourning today's meeting, and we look forward to seeing everybody in July. Just to mention that the June meeting is not going to take place. It falls on Juneteenth, which is a holiday celebrated by all. So we will be seeing you in July, and we wish everyone a launch of a great summer ahead, and look forward to seeing you at many of these wonderful public programs and seeing you check out as many possible books as you can carry as you leave the building. So thank you very much, and this meeting is now adjourned.